Welcome in, hockey fans, NCAA hockey fans, NCHC hockey fans. It's not often I get to spend a few minutes with the commissioner, the outgoing commissioner, Josh Fenton. So, Josh, first of all, thanks for taking some time and welcome in.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Scott. Appreciate it.
Okay, as we look out the window next to us, we can tell that we're not in Colorado. We're definitely in Boston, Massachusetts for the Frozen Four. Another NCHC team. So before we dig into NCHC, let's talk about having Denver here again and another great representation by the NCHC.
Yeah, I mean, it's great when we have any team here. Obviously, the University of Denver's had a great season, very deserving to be here. You know, I would argue that maybe start to finish, the top four teams in college hockey are actually the ones that are here in Boston, which doesn't happen usually that often. Denver, no doubt, is one of the best four teams in the country, and they've earned their right to be here, and excited to see what happens.
As the outgoing commissioner, and your announcement was made, 6-7 months ago now, that you believe in the conference, I wanted to visit with you and talk about how this conference started. What went through your head? How did everything get rolling? And how did the NCHC become the NCHC?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back quite a ways now. So college hockey was going through a little bit of realignment, in particular in the western side of the country, where obviously we previously had the WCHA and the CCHA as we knew it. And Penn State added a program which gave the Big Ten 6 institutions sponsoring the sport. And, you know, then they decided that they would sponsor men's ice hockey. And so that changed some things in the WCHA and the CCHA. Took Michigan State, Ohio State out of the CCHA, was fairly significant. And then Minnesota and Wisconsin certainly out of the WCHA. And so it was a collective group a small group of institutions that got together and said, you know, is there a different way of looking at this? You know, we value our hockey programs on our campuses. We value competing for conference national championships. And so it started with a fairly small group of institutions. North Dakota, Denver, frankly, Miami University was in on the ground level, and then slowly it added to Colorado College, Minnesota Duluth, and others that obviously are part of our membership today. And so that goes all the way back, Scott, to the the late winter, early spring of 2011. So, I mean, we're over 10 years from when those conversations happened, coming up actually eclipsed 11 years at this point. And so, you know, those conversations happened, and then things kept the momentum kept going. Right. There were discussions about other institutions potentially being a part of the conference. Obviously, Nebraska Omaha was also part of those conversations. And that really led us up to the announcement of forming the NCHC, which was in early July of 2011, on the kind of the stairs of the Penrose House in Colorado Springs, which you're familiar with, and now where our office is located. And there was 6 institutions that announced that they would be forming a new conference for play in the 13-14 season. So there were still 11, 12, 12, 13 seasons that would be completed under the old WCHA, CCHA before the NCHC. Shortly thereafter, St. Cloud State and Western Michigan were added in late summer, early fall of 2011. Shortly after that, a commissioner was hired. Jim Scheer was actually the first commissioner. He was hired just prior to the holiday season in 2011. And then it was really off and running and establishing a staff, establishing the office until we really got to 2013, 2014, which was our first competitive season.
So safe to say you were involved from the very start when your time at Miami? Yeah,
no doubt. The athletic director at the time at Miami, Brad Bates, eventually left to come actually out here to Boston and become the BC athletic director. He and I worked very closely together on it from Miami's standpoint, and we got to work with some great people. Brian Faison at North Dakota, Peg Bradley-Doppas, Ron Graham at the University of Denver, Ken Ralph at Colorado College, Josh Burlow wasn't yet at Minnesota Duluth, Bob Nielsen, who's the head football coach at University of South Dakota, was the football coach and also athletic director at Minnesota Duluth at the time. But yeah, I mean, Miami was in on the ground level, and you know, I played an interesting role. I played a role that helped kind of keep the group moving forward in discussions and meetings and documents. You know, everything kind of from a document and a logistics standpoint kind of lived out of Miami University. We were using Miami legal counsel. We were using Miami for a pseudo bank account, so to speak, to pay bills when bills came up. So a lot of it was housed out of Miami, and obviously I was very much involved in that.
Okay, before we get to where you're headed, college hockey has gone crazy. People told me at the start of the pandemic, they said, look out, this is going to be the downfall of college hockey. They won't survive it. It's too much of a niche sport. And now all of a sudden, teams are propping up all over. And as I visit with you, of course, we cover the West and added Lindenwood as a new team this year. Do you see realignment coming really soon in order to get some more conferences going here?
Well, first off, it's great to see institutions wanting to take the leap in sponsoring the sport. Lindenwood, Augustana, obviously more recent, St. Thomas, even going back to where you previously lived, Arizona State. So it's great when we see institutions that are wanting. Stonehill is that, frankly, I think our latest. Yeah. So anytime we have an institution say that we want to sponsor men's or women's or both, frankly, Division I ice hockey, it's a good day for college hockey. Now, to your point and your question about how does that fit into the conference landscape, that's a challenge that we're going to have to figure out as a sport. I mean, it's seemingly maybe more of a challenge in the West than it is in the East, although the East is also going to have to figure out some moving parts as new institutions add. But if we want to continue to grow the sport, the conference structure has to be there in a way to support it. And so, I know the NCHC will no doubt be a part of those conversations to figure out what's best for for college hockey overall, but also what's best for the NCHC.
Well, one of the things that you've done, and you've done a lot of great things for college hockey, so I commend you on that. But one of the things that stands out to me is what you did with NCHC.TV, because it brought more households, more eyeballs, more whatever, into the sport of hockey. Tell us about that, how it got started, and how proud you are of where it is right now.
I think it got started. So our first year was of the conference 13-14. NCHC TV came into play in 14-15. So we didn't have it the first year. It would take you back 8+ years when institutions were frankly distributing their games via streaming on their own websites. Yeah. And so if you were a fan of North Dakota and North Dakota went on the road to play at Miami University, you had to go to Miami University's site, log in, sign up for a pass, and watch, right? Right. So we felt like there was a better way to aggregate the content, and that we felt like the sum of the institutions in total was going to actually add more financial, branding, visibility, et cetera, than them doing it individually on their own. And so it was a discussion with the athletic directors back in the summer of 2014, and we at the time had engaged a technology partner, a company previously called New Lion, to build the system. Our original NCHC TV was actually patterned off of the Ivy League Digital Network. Okay. So the Ivy League Digital Network was already in play. Yeah. And if you were to go at the time when NCHC TV was originally built and went to Ivy League Digital Network and NCHC TV, they looked almost identical except for colors and teams and whatnot. So we had a technology partner, and the institution said, yeah, let's give it a shot. And so 14-15 was our first year. And kind of to your point, it's been off and running. It's really helped us from a branding standpoint. It's the only, in college hockey, frankly, the only standalone direct-to-consumer, fully integrated digital network. And when I say fully integrated, what I mean is you can get VOD content, you can get live content. There's other context, standings, news stories, social, whatnot, that is a part of the network. We're not part of an aggregated platform of a third party where we're in there with other properties. It's NCHC, and I think that's really helped with the branding. And then the revenue side has continued to grow each and every year. So it's been a big win for our institutions. We're going through a process right now to actually revamp it a little bit coming into 22-23. And so I think fans experience overall, because we're going to fold in some of our traditional website business within NCHC TV, so your favorite stats, rosters, that type of thing, will also be integrated within the platform. So exciting times ahead.
One of the things I do is flip on the 4 screens when I'm at a game, because I'll have one in front of me, but I'll have to keep tabs on what else is going on in NCHC. So, okay, the bittersweet part of this. Let's take one quick break. Let's come back and let's talk about the bittersweet part of you leaving us for a new opportunity, and we'll get into it from there. So we'll be right back with Josh Fenton, the commissioner of NCHC Hockey.
Really, JR? You think you can still do this?
I'm focused.
You're way too old to hit that target from there.
I've been listening to everything you said. It's been running through my head, locked and loaded.
Still got it. Still got it.
Who's old now?
Welcome back in, hockey fans, NCAA hockey fans, NCHC hockey fans. Josh Fenton is still with me, the commissioner of the NCHC. I can't say that for much longer. Right. And every time I try to say it, Josh, I have a problem because I've known you for a couple of years now, and it's like, man, I don't want to see you go. But you're not going too far, are you?
No, not going too far. Obviously, we looked at an opportunity as a family. I looked at the opportunity professionally as a great one to join kind of the multi-sport commissioner world of intercollegiate athletics. There's only 32 Division I multi-sport conferences that are out there, and I've got some familiarity with the Summit League, which is obviously where I'm going. The University of Denver, North Dakota, and Omaha are members of that league, and so I from our NCHC standpoint, I understood kind of what the Summit League was, and I just saw it as a really incredible opportunity. So we're excited to start. It's bittersweet, no doubt. We'll miss being a part of this sport and college hockey in general, but look forward to obviously getting over to the Summit League.
It's bringing you back a little closer to home than Denver, but I'm sure it's hard to leave Colorado Springs. That's part one of this question. The second part of this question is everybody's going like, oh, hockey guy going to the Summit League. Does that mean hockey's going to be in the Summit League at some point?
Yeah, I mean, I think to the first part, there's no doubt the geography aspect was a part of the conversation, was maybe a small part of the conversation. I'm originally from Minnesota, as you said, so my parents, my sister, her family, they still live in and around the Minnesota area. And so we get back there regularly, but to be back a little closer to maybe see them more, obviously, is really exciting. It will be tough to leave Colorado Springs. I mean, it's a pretty special place, and it's one of the most beautiful places probably in the world. And so there's an aspect to that will be no doubt tough, but excited to move to Sioux Falls. Great community, really a growing community, and closer to Minnesota and family. The second part of your question, yeah, I mean, we've had little to no discussion about hockey being a part of the Summit League into the future. You know, I think the multi-sport conference world, frankly, the intercollegiate athletic world is a little bit in flux right now. There's changes at the NCAA level that are happening. And so our focus right now is more on how do we position the Summit League for long-term success, and that's across all 19 sports. Obviously, I think we've got an incredible conference tournament experience with our women's and men's basketball tournament, and I got to see that firsthand this past year in Sioux Falls. It was pretty darn impressive, and credit to the staff and my predecessor Tom Duple for building it to what it is. But you know, we'll see what the future holds. You know, we want to position ourselves as a preeminent Division I, probably at the non-FBS level conference. And we've got a lot of work to do, and obviously the NCHC is in a good spot, and the NCHC is going to continue to be in a strong spot, but we really have had very little discussion about the hockey aspect related to the Summit League.
Well, no secret, Augustana, as we mentioned earlier, coming on board, which is exciting because more teams up in the Great North, as we call it. I'm Minnesota native as well. Yeah. But no rumor to the fact that you're leaving because I moved to Colorado Pines, right? No. Or Castle Pines, I should say, in Colorado.
No truth to that rumor.
Well, I feel good about that. I will miss you around. I'm sure we'll bump into each other here and there, but give us your thumbnail about where you're leaving the NCHC right now. What kind of overall picture is it? We know it's strong. We know the competition's strong, but how do you feel personally about where it's at?
Well, I think maybe that's a question for people that work or live within our membership structure, and you could ask them that. I mean, I think we're in a good spot. I think we've been able to build quite a bit over now 9 seasons. We've gone through some challenging times, just like everybody, in particular COVID. I think we were able to weather that fairly well. You know, on the ice, the teams have been competitive, but in the conference office, we don't score goals or make saves. I mean, we're there to promote, to provide good student-athlete experiences, provide fan experiences, and that's probably what I will remember most about kind of our accomplishments was the focus on student athlete and fan experience moments, because that really was at the center of our thoughts as we were kind of building the NCHC. So I hope people will say it's in a good spot, and we've done great things, but frankly, Scott, I think it's poised for even greater growth into the future.
So when you look at college hockey, and we'll kind of wrap things up on this, when you look at college hockey as a whole, we talked about the new teams coming in and some rebirths in Alaska and Robert Morris and things like that. Where do you see it a decade from here? I mean, are we going to have to realign once, twice, maybe just one more time?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, you just see what's going on in the intercollegiate athletic world with realignment and multi-sport conferences, and you never say never on those types of things because they kind of come out of the blue. I think that the most important thing for conferences, whether it's the NCHC or otherwise, is to position yourself in a situation of strength, and build what you have, build around what you have. So if there are those things that happen in the future, you as a conference, or maybe the sport overall, most importantly, is in a position of strength. And so we've got a lot of great commissioners across college hockey, and I know they're looking after the best interests of the game in the right way. And I think the NCHC will be fine and well positioned, strong moving forward into the future.
All right, tonight it's the semifinals, the Frozen Four. We've already talked about this. I think it's the best Frozen Four that I've seen, and I've been around 60 years, so that's saying something. I know it's a big statement, but when you look at the pure raw talent, this is going to be a good weekend here in Boston, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be fun. Like I said, I think we've got probably the four best teams from start to finish of the college hockey season that are here, which is pretty rare. We've got our University of Denver shaded glasses on a little bit here, so go Pioneers. But we'll see what happens. It'll be a fun experience.
Josh Fenton, thanks for everything you've done for college hockey, the NCHC. Great to see you again. Great to spend a few minutes with you. Don't be a stranger because I'm not that far away.
Yeah. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
Folks, that's Josh Fenton, the outgoing commissioner of the NCHC, but he's not going far. He's going up to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and hey, guess what? There's a hockey team coming in there very, very soon. So we thank Josh for his time, and we'll get back to more action here at the Frozen Four from Boston, Massachusetts.